Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another BestBall Roundtable. This is the PGA recap from the PGA Championship. Robby here, surrounded by some good guys who know their golf. David Kirsch, Joe Fellini, and Jason Oberdier. We might have some others join us mid-show, but I want to give another shout out to our friends at Western Birch as we get rolling. I played golf with Joe, and we talked about how sturdy these things are. I actually did finally break one of them, but the Western Birch golf tees are amazing. Go check out westernbirch.com. You can get custom prints on them. Here's one example. We've obviously got some best ball tees from Western Birch, but our friend Brett with For Good, if you haven't seen them, For Good's a clothing brand there. He and his wife are based there in Pinehurst, like Joe, but he said, I heard your podcast with Lewis on there, and I had to order some tees with the For Good brand. So but go check out Western Birch. And yeah, we appreciate those guys for supporting. All right, so as we get rolling, obviously PGA Championship, Xander won. Xander Schauffele, congrats to him. Let's start there. Kirsch, talk about it. We were chatting a little bit before the show. Give your thoughts, and we'll kind of go around the horn. Everybody, give your thoughts on Xander winning this thing.
Yeah, I thought it was a long time coming. He's the only other person that you can compare his record in majors to from a top 10 perspective is Tiger. He's in 70, I think it was like 74, 75% of his career majors. He's been in the top 10, top 20. And so he's always there. He's always around. He has struggled to close the deal. I think Data Golf said that, on average, in the last 12 times, he's had the lead or co-lead going into the final round. He shot roughly 0.8 strokes worse than expected. So it's always been a struggle for him to close. And I thought it was nice to see him get it done. You always that moniker of best player to never win a major was starting to weigh, and I think you could tell it was weighing on him. And for him to go out and get it done today, I think was really, really nice.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. I go back to him being obviously the best who have not won a major yet. But I'll tell you, when you think about, like Dave said, the ability not to close, when he hit that tee shot on 18 near that bunker, and I said, oh man, he's going to be standing in that bunker. This is going to be an interesting shot, but he played it the best he could have out of that position. So I thought it was really great.
Yeah, Jason, any thoughts on Xander there?
Yeah, this was his 28th major career start, and I think it was like he's had like 13 top tens, a couple second place finishes, and he's been knocking on the door for a while now. And I think after the disappointment of losing last week to Rory, kind of really lit a fire under him, and the ball striking and everything was still there, and he put the pedal to the floor and didn't turn back, and he finally closed the deal, and it was nice to see.
Yeah, we were kind of joking before we hit the record button that it'd be one thing to win a gold medal in the Olympics and not have a major championship. So the question is, does he win more? Is he one of these guys? Obviously, Jason, you just mentioned how many he's gotten in a top 10. Do y'all see him winning more, and maybe which ones could he win and which ones can't? But Jason, I'll start with you on that.
I don't really see one that doesn't fit his game. Maybe the Open Championship would be maybe one that he might struggle a little with, but I think he's played well in that too. So, I definitely see him winning more. However many that is, who knows? But yeah, Pinehurst, is coming up, and that's a ball striker's course too. So, hopefully he keeps the momentum going.
Joe, what do you think? Do you think he's got more in him?
Yeah, with all these top 10s and top 20s in his career, there's no reason why he can't. Things have to fall right like they did this week for him. I think what happened, Morikawa didn't really make a run at him. The guys who made a run at him were guys that were 6-7 strokes behind going into the day. So I think that helped him a lot, and Scheffler ended his tournament basically on Saturday. So, I think he's definitely got more in him because he's just so consistent being a top 10, top 20 guy.
Kirsch, is there one he can't win?
No, I mean the only one that he doesn't have a top 10 in is the Open Championship. He's got 4 in the Masters. Obviously won this one. He's got another one in the PGA. He's got 4 top 10s in the US Open. So not having any in the Open is probably the one weak spot. But it's really, really, really hard to win majors. And I always get back to like how many we assign. Oh, this guy's gonna win this many more. And there's no way when 2014 and Rory walked off here, anybody would have said, "Oh, Rory's going to still be at 4 when it comes back here in 10 years," and here we are. So, you know, but if he keeps going around these top 10s, you got to think he's going to be able to pick off at least one more because there's such a big gap between the guys who've ever won one and to get to 2, right? Anybody can get, not anybody, but there's a whole lot of guys on the list that have won major, and you immediately jump a rung when you get 2. So
yeah. And you know, they always say horses for courses, right? And so maybe there will be an open, one of the opens in the Rota that suits his game that he can take advantage of, maybe good conditions or whatever. I think, like you guys have thrown the stats out, he's too talented not to win at least one more, if not multiple. But you know, as we saw, a lot of people are really good at golf that are still out there. A lot of people have elevated their game this week that maybe we thought had kind of fallen off to the side. We'll talk about those in a second. But I guess besides Xander winning, probably the biggest story of the week. Everybody wakes up Friday morning, and the last person in the field that you would think has gotten arrested, Scottie Scheffler, has been arrested in Louisville. And I woke up and I see this tweet, and I had not heard this news yet. And Mark the caddy, wish he was here to laugh about this, but he said, "I did not have a quote better morning than Scottie Scheffler on my bingo card." I'm like, what in the world's he talking about? Then I scroll to the next tweet and I'm like, oh my goodness, what happened? I mean, you hear Scottie Scheffler arrested. Unfortunately, when you hear somebody's arrested, you think all the really bad things, and it seemed to be a misunderstanding. Let me ask this: where were you guys when you heard the news? Kirsch, you and I texted. You said you were on your iPad since like 5:30 in the morning Central Time.
yeah.
No, I'll start with you. How did you first hear it? What was your reaction?
No, it was just like every other Friday. I have kid duty in the morning. My wife likes to work out in the morning, so that's what her time every day. And I had just woken up the boys to get ready for school, and had was walking to just start getting ready for the morning. Did the normal thing, knocked on the doors, flipped on Twitter, and it looked, the first picture I saw, I think, was from Kyle Porter, and it was a screenshot of the Jeff Darlington tweet, and it's Scotty in handcuffs, like in the distance. And first 2 things that crossed my mind was like somebody like taking it looked like a Yeti or an alien, like that kind of photo, like what am I looking at in this grainy picture? And then I think I texted it to you. I said, I was like, wow, AI has fooled a lot of people. Like somebody made a really good AI image and it fooled a lot of people. And then all of a sudden you start doom scrolling and you're like, what is going on? And so then I was locked in, and I could not, I grew up in the age of ESPN, and I thought that them being on and in the position that they were covered that about as well as could possibly be throughout the day, and it was fantastic. And then obviously there was some of the news that came out today that I didn't even see, that had come out way earlier today, but I didn't even see it till this afternoon. Kevin Van Valkenburg from No Laying Up was saying that he thought the charges sounded like things might get dropped, and it turned out that the car that Scotty was going around was actually the ESPN car. And that maybe this police officer may have been as overzealous as it sounded that first time. So, but yeah, just total shock and awe.
Yeah. Jason, what were your thoughts? Jonathan, welcome. Appreciate you
Sorry for
joining
being
us.
late.
Our Tommy Fleetwood lookalike here, but we're talking about kind of first reactions when you heard the news Friday about Scottie Scheffler. Jason, how did you react to this?
Yes, I was on my way to work, and every morning I listen to PGA Tour radio in the car. The starter, I don't know if anybody listens to that or not, but I love it. But yeah, as soon as I turned it on, they were talking, about, the situation. And I was like, this, this has to be a misunderstanding of all people, for this to happen to, um, Scottie Scheffler. He's got the reputation and everybody sees it. I mean, he's the nicest guy. He's, full of grace and just pure love in the guy's heart. And there's no way that, you know, that he did anything purposefully. Um, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't turn it off. I was, like I said, by the time I got to work, I'm still checking my phone because I'm like, is he gonna miss his tea time? Like, what is going on here? Like, it's just like crazy. So it was an eventful morning of just me checking my phone constantly to see what was going on.
Yeah. Joe, you and I talked about it a little bit. What was your reaction?
Well, Robby, I go back to what you said, which I thought was the perfect thing to say about this whole situation, which was you could give me a list of every guy playing in this tournament, and that would have been the last guy I would have picked to have gotten arrested during the tournament. So I think you were spot on with that. And I was like everybody else. I woke up, saw it. We were sitting out back having coffee, and I said, all right. So then I came upstairs to work, and I had a couple of screens open pretty much the whole day, and I just kept checking back and forth, make a phone call for work, check on what's going on with Scottie, just going back and forth the whole day. So it was pretty astounding. And like you said, to have it be him was just shocking.
Yeah. Jonathan, you and I were texting as well. Share some of your first thoughts when you saw this news.
So I woke up watching it, get the alerts, everything's going on. Like this gotta be a spoof. There's no way in the world this is real. Then you find out it's real. You're watching actual ESPN. Like David said, they did an incredible job reporting it, giving full details, the explanation. And then you're going, didn't someone make a phone call before we drive away? Like, how in the world throughout the entire process were there not somebody, right? Chief of police, mayor of Louisville, somebody's got to be making a phone call. And then you're watching the timeline happen. You're like, you get arrested for not unserious charges. And then 20 minutes later, they release him so they can make his tea time. And the whole time you're like, this is bizarro world. This makes no sense at all. And then obviously with the information that's coming out over the week, I appreciate the lawyer. Whenever, first interview, he's like, listen, got the case. It'll be litigated. I think we're going to figure it out. And by the end of the day, when Scottie's talking about, I think it'll get figured out, behind the scenes, you're thinking, of course it will. And me being in Augusta, Georgia, you think about, of course, all the people out there saying Louisville's never going to get a tournament again, which David kind of mentioned last time about how they might not have wanted it anyway, so maybe whatever. But it wouldn't have happened in Augusta. There's no way in the world that anybody, because my first thought was, well, what kind of car was he driving? Because in Augusta, for those of you who don't know, it's gunmetal gray Mercedes-Benz. Everyone is clearly identified. If you want to do anything illegal in Augusta, just drive around a gunmetal Mercedes-Benz during that week. Then I find out he's in a marked vehicle. It's not like he just had something from Enterprise Rent-A-Car, like a Dodge Charger. He was literally in a vehicle that was supposed to be marked and understood that this is what's going on. So I can't play good golf whenever I show up a little late and can't find my shoes. And this man goes to jail, gets booked, takes the picture, comes back the rest of the day and just is lights out. So hats off to him for figuring out how to play golf in the middle of that too.
Yeah. So many jokes, and, I've got some friends that I'm on a group text thread with, and it was kind of going back and forth and, laughing at, somebody that 50 minutes out from their tee time, they show up and like, oh my gosh, is he gonna have enough time to warm up? And we all joke that we're scrambling to get to the first tee, wheels up, right? Like we're flying in there. And so it was a crazy thing. And not to lose anything from the cause of all this is, as a gentleman lost his life, right? So praying for his family. It's rough. Scottie Scheffler, I think, is, of all people, he's probably the one that it might have been the best to happen to, in a weird way, because he handled it, I think, like you guys said, with so much grace, and it'll all get worked out. Just a weird way to have a Friday morning. So, all right. We talked about other golfers that kind of showed up We all made our predictions, and I'll kind of go in there. But a couple of names I want to throw out there and get y'all's thoughts on. Bryson DeChambeau, right? We don't see him because he plays on the Live Tour, and we hear sometimes he's doing well, a shot like a 59, 58 or something once maybe on a par 3 course. I don't know what they play on, but anyway, he played great. I don't know what y'all think. I enjoy like 90% of watching Bryson. Like, I think he's a great golfer. I think I'm fine with the science guy calculation and stuff. And getting jacked up and amped and excited when he hits good shots. What do y'all think about Bryson? Do y'all miss having him on the PGA Tour? Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I miss watching, the way that he kind of thinks and plots his way around a golf course. I know that he's a bomber, but I mean, he's also a mentalist where I'm sure that before the round, he kind of plots out every single hole exactly what he thinks he's going to do. And he's just fun to watch. He's got a great personality. Um, I think he's good for the game, and I miss having him on the PGA Tour. Out of all the guys that left, he's probably one of maybe 2 or 3 that I really wish would have stuck around.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think? You a Bryson guy?
Yeah, certainly. Especially today, it seemed like he was just going for everything, which I thought was really cool. It was speaking of the no layup guys, it was just no layup in him. He was just going for everything, which I thought was awesome. I mean, that bunker shot he hit on 18, to just get it to where he got it, I thought was impressive. But yeah, I miss him. Obviously, I'd like to see him on the tour. I think he's good for golf. He's got a personality that's interesting. And like Jason said, he's a thinker, so it's fun to see him how everything plays out in his head, and then when he goes for it all the time. I think it's really cool.
Jonathan, what about you? Do you miss seeing Bryson kind of bombing away? And
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like to grip it and rip it and then it actually work? I also think what's interesting, like just following some of the behind the scenes stuff, like the clubs that he brought to the last tournament, and the idea that he doesn't just want to push the envelope in the training. He doesn't just want to push the envelope in the way you approach a course, but he also wants to push every piece of technology that's available. The mad scientist and the different way he does it. He does seem at times frenetic, like he just he's not taking a casual stroll down the golf course. Everything seems to be, I don't know if he ever thinks of one shot at a time, which may be part of his downfall. But then, you know what? He comes out, he shoots 20 under over the weekend, which no one, I mean, well, one other guy did. And then the rest of them just sort of lost it here and there. And I was watching the last couple of holes that he was coming in, and there was every moment for him to fail, and he didn't. He got one really lucky break, right? Like the ball that pops out and still ends up with a good opportunity, but he didn't miss the opportunities, and a couple of the guys did. So that's what you're looking for. It would have been fun to have another playoff coming in on a par 5. It's hard to see how you're going to have a playoff on that, right? Like the way that Schauffele was hitting the ball throughout the week. You just, I mean, I was watching it going, there's no way in the world he doesn't get a birdie. There's no way. And then, of course, he hits the ball right next to the sand trap. I'm sitting there thinking, I bet he wishes he's left-handed right now. And then he pulls it off again. But yeah, watching Bryson, the numbers, even the guys that have been watching golf their entire lives are in awe of the numbers that are being produced, which is also a good plug for what the PGA has been doing recently, where almost every single shot has a tracker, has the speed on it, like has everything that you'd want from a information perspective.
yeah, Curtis, you're going to get a 3D printer and start making some clubs?
Nah, it's funny. I was sitting here thinking, I think it's a good example of the plot that a lot of these guys have been missing, including some of the guys that have stayed over the last 36 months, is that it's the collective of the personalities that brings the engagement. This is Bryson 4.0. Like Bryson in college at SMU, US Amateur Bryson, awesome Bryson. First guy breaking onto the tour, single length irons. I get it. Great. Bryson 2.0 and 3.0, 2.0 telling us how smart he is. literally making up scientific terms that do not exist, the thing that he's talking about. I mean, even to what Jonathan said when he's coming up to Augusta and he's talking about 3D printed iron. Cobra has 3D printed irons. Adams Golf has 3D printed irons. The high handicapped super game improvement irons that people see from all of the major manufacturers, they all have bulge face to help the ball come center back. Like there's nothing that he's doing that's truly unique other than the fact he says it out loud and does it in a way that people look at it. But what the tour and what I miss about Bryson is that he's different. He's not the same. Same thing with Scottie's press conference. Like that was one of the best press conferences after that ordeal because it was truthful, it was raw, and it was authentic. I don't know if anything Bryson does is all the way truthful or all the way authentic, but it is unique. And so that's the part that I miss. And I like the fact that right now, at least this year, I would say, I think he realizes that playing in front of, 6 people stinks. I think he really likes being liked. And I think him realizing that if I'm not a schmuck and that if I don't act like the world is ending and don't throw fits on the golf course, that people are going to like me and I'm going to play better golf. And I think that's what makes this version of Bryson interesting. And the tour would be better off having him on it for sure.
And you think you mentioned that point, like he wants people to like him. If he would have done a little more of that, he might have gotten a pick, even coming from Live for the Ryder Cup. Like he was playing incredible golf, and if whatever rules are off, and Zach Johnson could have picked anybody, he probably should have picked Bryson. Like he was just playing that well.
The problem is that the players can't stand him.
That's the thing.
They really can't. It's not even like the fans might win him over, but the players are like, yeah, man, he's so much to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Well, I know for a fact, I'll speak for myself. At 27, 28 years old, I was quite a lot too. So like I give him a little bit, like he just turned 30. He's maybe going to figure out how to settle down. And I wasn't even told I was the best of anything my entire life. So I figure I give a little bit. It's like I give a little bit of grace in that because maybe he matures and it seems to be some maturity involved.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, talking about another player that I am really excited played well, and I think will continue and be one of these guys that wins one soon, Victor Hovland, right? Like nobody in our show, and I don't know if I heard anybody picking Victor for, contending in this thing at all, but goes back to his old coach and plays like Victor that we remember, played like he did last year, right? And how he's capable of doing. I think he's one of these players extremely likable by everybody, unless you guys know something I don't know, but also has the talent to back it up. Joe, are you excited to see Victor playing well? I mean, I think he's a guy that's going to come to your hometown there, or new hometown there in Pinehurst, and put on a show.
I agree, man. For him to come out and what did he throw? 366s in a row up in the last 3 rounds. Pretty amazing. I mean, technically it should have been a 65 today. He messed that little gimme at the end. But yeah, he's just, when he gets on a heater, man, you just got to watch out because he had it going today for a while, and I thought it was really impressive. And yeah, I think he's one that can certainly win on this stage without a doubt. Yeah. And I think Pinehurst might be a good spot for him too. Yeah. He's consistent. He's down the middle. Yeah, I think he's a guy that can do well here.
Jason, what do you think about Victor?
Yeah, I mean, when he's on his game, he's definitely on.
Do you think he's back though? Do you think he just had that little lull and now he's back into contending week in and week out? I
hope so. I mean, because he was playing good there for a while, and then he just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And, I truly hope that he's turned the corner and he's back to the old Victor, because what he put on this weekend was pretty remarkable. And coming into summer season with all the big tournaments coming up with Memorial and the U.S. Open and the Open Championship and everything else, and the Olympics possibly for I'd like to see him stay top of the leaderboard for sure.
Yeah. Kirsch, what do you think about Victor's kind of reemergence? He didn't really go too far. But
No, I mean, for him to do what he did, Jason Sobel was interviewing him for SiriusXM. I think after yesterday's round, he said, "If I'd have told you 3 days ago you'd be in this spot, what do you think?" And Victor looked at him and said, "10 days ago, I was thinking about withdrawing from this tournament. I was playing so poorly." And so I mean, that tells you where his head was at just last week, that he was considering pulling out of the event in general. So is he back? I hope like Jay said, I hope so. But might need to see it a couple of more times before we get there. But yeah, no, I mean, golf's better right now when Victor's playing good. He's another guy with a great personality and a different way of thinking and going about golf, and he clearly got lost in the wilderness there. And thankfully, Joe Mayo gave him some flashlights and got him back, at least on pavement. So where he goes from here, I guess we'll see.
yeah. Jonathan, I'm going to start with you on this next one. We were talking earlier, Xander Schauffele was one of those guys that was the best not to have won a major yet. And so I want us to think about who's the next guy. Like, who do you think is kind of playing well right now? And we've got U.S. Open and the Open Championship coming up to round out the majors for this year. But Jonathan, who's the next guy that hasn't won one yet that you think is going to win one?
I don't know. Like we just talked about Victor, right? I mean, he got third, but I was just looking up real quick. The closest he got the rest of this year was 22nd. And so you kind of wonder, well, what is it, after May, Scheffler doesn't win or something like that. So is the field just going to be sort of a hodgepodge of guys coming and going? There's no one that's really dominant. Did the course just suit him well this week? And then, of course, I think I was talking to a friend of mine on Thursday, and the low scores went out, and they're like, there's no way they're going to let they don't want the scores to be that low. And with the Open, notoriously, right, no one wants the scores to be low. So it's hard to tell, like, is there one guy, the dark horse? And yet Scheffler this week, I mean, he's been playing really well for a while. So is there even an opportunity for a dark horse to come in and kind of take that over? Or is it just going to be the same 10 guys in the mix?
So do you have somebody that's, I mean, because there's a lot of good golfers.
There's a lot of them. But then this is why we hate and love golf at the same time, right? Because we'll go out and play. Well, shoot, let's talk about Robby. I don't know if he's mentioned it yet, but he dominated Pinehurst the other day playing with Joe. What was it, 76?
Yeah.
Right.
On a par 68. Come on.
No, I understand, but it doesn't change that I go away.
You're still there. Yeah, you're
okay,
good.
Sorry. My screen just went completely blank. Sorry. But just like golf every other time, right? We can go out and have a good 9 holes, and then we'll play the back 9 and play terrible. And sometimes it feels like the pros have the same problem. I don't know why, because you think they're pros and they're better at this than we are, but yet here we are.
Yeah. Joe, do you have a name?
I do. I think if this guy can keep it together on a Sunday, which he seems to struggle with a little bit, I think Thigala's got a shot, man. Yeah, I really like him to step up and just come out of it one week. Yeah, I like his game. I like that he takes chances. But he's got to get over that Sunday thing. I think, today he shot 73 and took himself out of it pretty quickly. So I think there's a guy like that could be a dark horse.
How about you, Jason? Who's your guy that hadn't done it yet?
So I actually got 2 that I've been thinking of. The first one is Max Homa. I know he hasn't really played well in majors yet, but I think that his time is going to start to, I think once he kind of gets settled in, I think he's going to start to perform a little bit better. I think he did pretty decent this tournament. And then the other guy that I kind of, and he's probably on everybody's radar, but Tommy Fleetwood. I feel like if he, would have not been so far down and just barely made the cut, that was incredible the way that he made the cut on Friday. But I feel like he's got a really good chance too. His name seems to kind of always pop up there, as somebody who can contend and eventually, hopefully, win one.
Yeah. Kirsch, you said either Homa would get this one or Pinehurst. Are you still on the Homa train, or you got another name for us or somebody to look out for?
Oh, I still think I still feel pretty confident that he'll be in the mix at the U.S. Open. But I think to be the best player to not have won a major, you've had to have a decent amount of wins out there, or been in the ballpark before. And for me, it's Tony Finau, Victor Hovland, and Tommy Fleetwood. Any of those three guys right now are all battling for the crown. Fleetwood's got 10 wins. He's got several top fives. He's always in the mix. Victor, obviously, runner up last year, three solo this year at the PGA. He's always been in it at he just needs to win a little bit more to get in there. But I would honestly say Finau and Fleetwood right now would be the two at the top of that list.
Yeah. I mean, going off your thoughts there of winning a lot, I mean, I think Cantley would have to be a name too that, Xander's buddy. He's definitely going to want to win one now, a major more than ever. But I think a player that's hot that is probably going to get one before one of these guys that haven't, that have been playing well for a longer time. I'm going to go with Joe. I had Sahith Theegala on my list as well. He is a fun guy to watch. He kind of reminds me of like a Dan Marino, quarterback. He'll just kind of gunslinger, kind of going for it. And I think hopefully he doesn't end up with 0 Super Bowls, but I think he's gonna do all right and get one of these majors. So, all right. A couple other things I wanted to throw out there. What did you guys see Alejandro Tosi drive number 13 today and make his eagle putt?
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
That was crazy. What did he carry it like 338, something like that?
And then stopped it.
And then stopped it. Yeah, for like an 8-foot putt. Kirsch, did you
No.
see that one?
I did, but that was going to lead me down the my thoughts on Valhalla. So, but yeah, no, I saw that. I think the crowd booed Rory when he didn't try to do it in today's round, because they thought he should have gone for the green.
Well, I mean, nobody even really practiced that. And I'm sure others did it. I saw Spieth tried it today and came up a little short. But it's one of those, like, if you can carry it and maybe not land it and stick the green, like, you get a pretty good drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, let's jump into that then. Let's start talking about Valhalla. Kirsch, what did you think? You got some thoughts about how the course played out?
I may have called it a Kentucky's finest muni at some point this week on a text thread. It should 100% be a PGA Tour course. I do think that. I think it should be in a rotation for like the BMW or some sort of the playoff event. I think it's that level of good, but it's not major championship. Just because it produces really good finishes does not make it a major championship venue. I had so many people tell me that, well, it rained there this week, so it's soft. And I did check, and it was not the first major championship to ever receive rain. So that was news to some people. And they have sub air underneath all the ground. They could not get that thing allegedly dried out, even though it was 80 degrees and sunny for the last 2 days at least there. I thought it's just not a test of golf. It's the Justin Ray. I had to take notes on this because I really wanted to say this out loud somewhere today. In PGA Championship history, the history of the PGA Championship, before this week, as a collective score for the field that made the cut, the lowest combined score ever was plus 40, and that was at Riviera. Second place was plus 59 as a total group added up. This year at Valhalla, it was minus 241, 214. 254 stroke difference between first and second place now. That's how easy this course was. There had never been somebody in the 20s in a major championship. We got 2 of them this time. It was pitch and putt for these guys, and because there was no strategy. 13 yesterday. They took it off the betting board because too many people made birdie. The sports books were losing money on it. 92% of the field hit the green in regulation. I think the PGA Tour average is 57% on greens hit in regulation, and this week at the PGA, it was 68%. It's the first time ever in major championship history that the field averaged under par. They averaged 0.6 strokes under par for the week. And Scheffler got arrested. So there's a big, Taylor Gooch has been talking about asterisks all year long in professional golf. And this, you played a pitch and putt muni in Kentucky, and where everybody hit the ball in the same spot on every hole. There was no punishment for missing the green, and Scottie got arrested. So
yeah. Scottie shot 13 under with handcuffs on. Come on, guys.
Literally, he was handcuffed.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, I was the one I think texting you about they won't let them go up to 20. Like they'll have to keep it around 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they got there. I agree. I don't know if you guys have any different thoughts. I think those are great stats Kirsch threw out there. I don't know if you guys have any different thoughts, but it's one of those things that you could turn on any random PGA event throughout the year that's not a major, and guys are getting close to that 20 mark, and it's like, great, this is fun watching birdies. I think we all as fans want to see these majors a little tougher. Am I wrong, Jason? Do you want to see it tougher?
Yeah, but I think out of all the majors, I think the PGA is the one that the scores are typically lower than normal. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I kind of like Valhalla now, as far as just as a major championship course, that I don't know. They, like you guys said, I mean, they just absolutely tore the place apart. I mean, there's a lot of gettable holes, and even the long par fours, they didn't struggle on at all. And with the soft conditions, I mean, they just bombed it out there. And I mean, they're hitting pitching wedge, gap wedge, 8-iron into these 500-yard par fours. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know why I have kind of a soft spot for Valhalla. I think it's a fun golf course, but as far as once every 15 years, maybe, because it does have those exciting finishes that Kirsch said, but not as often as it's kind of come up in the rotation.
Yeah, Jonathan,
with it being in, I was just going to say, with it being in May now too, the chances of it returning to Valhalla are probably slim to none.
Yeah. Jonathan, I was going to ask, do you like seeing a birdie eagle fest where scores get really low, or do you want to see it tough?
So I think we like Valhalla because we all think if we went out there and played, we could probably do okay after watching the pros. I want to see penalties if you don't hit the ball in the fairway and you don't hit the green. I think you're pro. You are a pro. I want to see an amazing shot where it's the one guy that gets in the first cut and somehow he still gets it up to the green, not at this point, it sounds like every player that made the cut, basically the first cut, the first rough wasn't a problem. I like the idea that whenever the ball gets over in the rough, you got to have somebody find your ball, not watch it from the blimp. Not personally, because my ball sprays all over the place. But when I'm watching a pro, I want to see someone take a few minutes to figure out. I don't want to hear from the commentators, oh yeah, he's got 3 different places he can miss and still be okay. I want there to be danger somewhere. I never would have thought that 13 could have turned into something where people were giving it a drive, which might have just been like the Sunday show, right? You're so far out of contention. Let's just see what happens. But that goes back to every other major, right? All of us would say there's no way we could putt at the Masters because it's too much. There's no way we could manage an Open because the roughs would be too difficult. And so then you watch something like this and you're like, maybe I could figure it out, because I'm watching these guys off and, way off on the right-hand side of a green. I'm thinking, well, I could putt from there. There's nothing in the way. Like I could actually probably putt and be better at any green I've ever putted on, even though it's 20 yards off. So,
and putting there, we've all been to the Pinehurst area before. You could putt off every single one of you could putt from 50 yards off of those greens, but you have to hit a very specific putt.
That's
Otherwise, it's going to go somewhere else.
right.
It has nothing. Nobody complained about Cam Smith and Rory's, race to 20 under par at the Old Course. Nobody complained, about Tiger going low. To me personally, 21 under, I don't even care about the score. Like, awesome. Xander beat everybody, and 21 under is 21 under. I don't care. If you could have made it a par 68 and his 15 under would have been awesome. That part doesn't matter to me. The part that was going is exactly what you're saying. Like, there was no punishment for anything. I mean, Xander's tee shot, Bryson's tee shot on 18. They both hit it where you're not supposed to hit it. And both of them are like, I'm just going to hit it up by the green, get up and down for birdie. Like, there's no punishment here. The greens aren't creative. There's nothing. Xander hit it left on 2 today, down by the water. Why is there grass there? That should be a shaved bank. And if you cut the corner and miss, you're in the hazard. You are in the water 100% of the time. You are in trouble. You have to, you want to have a good angle, great, challenge that side, but there should be a punishment. Instead, he's like, no, I'm just going to hit it to the back bunker. It rolls down to a flat. I got a real easy up and down from this bunker. I mean, that's the part where it's like this course just has no bite whatsoever.
Yeah. Joe, the next event, US Open, is notorious for these lower scores, right? Making it really tough. And a lot of times courses that host grow up the rough, right? And, you get in that rough, and it seems like an annual tradition of, some reporter, TV person walking around with a golf ball, dropping the ball in the rough, being like, where is it? How are they going to play it? That's not the case for Pinehurst, right? So we'll have a show that previews what Pinehurst number 2 is going to look like and what the Open is. But how is Pinehurst going to play different as a major compared to Valhalla?
Well, I mean, the defense of almost, you guys know this, the defense of almost any Donald Ross course is going to be the greens. So they're going to get those greens as fast as they can possibly get them. And like Kirsch said, they're going to shave everything down around every green to make sure that if you miss a green by 6 inches, you're going to pay for it. The waste areas are there, obviously. But I go back to it's those greens. I'll never forget the first time I played Pinehurst number 2. I'm a wedge player from around the greens. I love playing my wedges. My caddy wanted to give me the putter. I said, no, give me the 56. I got this. Sure enough, bladed it over the other side of the green. He looked at me and I said, all right, I'll listen to you the rest of this round. I promise you that. But it reminds me of playing in Scotland, playing in Ireland, where, like Kirsch said, you could putt from 20 yards away, and you can not have anything get between you and the green and the pin. But real quick, going back to Valhalla, Kirsch, you had said that the end of the course, and obviously 13. What would that course be like for a Ryder Cup? I mean, would that be fun to watch everybody going crazy and trying to beat each other up in a Ryder Cup format?
Man, we saw it there in 08. The last time we, well, not the last time, but winning here in 08,
Right.
it was there. But Valhalla will never host another major or President's Cup or Ryder Cup. It just won't. Now that the PGA doesn't own it anymore,
Right,
that's why
right.
it went there all the time. Is they built it and they owned it. But I think the Ryder Cup is already booked out in the US through 2040.
Right.
So I don't think it's coming back anytime soon. And it is probably a better match play course. And if you wanted to put a match play there, the problem is that even in that case scenario, it comes down to a putting contest, which is, primarily what you want to see is people rolling in putts at the Ryder Cup. But 13. Other than the people that were goofing around, everybody's hitting something that goes about 230 yards off the tee, and then they have 90 yards in. And then you go to the next hole, and everybody hits 3-wood off 14, and then you hit, 9-iron in, and it's just everything is target golf. It's just like playing on the driving range. That's why Morikawa was playing well this week for a while. He's the greatest dome golfer there is.
TGL, man, here it comes.
Yep.
All right, so One thing the PGA does that I like, I don't know what you guys think about this, rangefinders. They allow the players, caddies to use rangefinders. Would y'all be in favor of all pro golf, all events, allowing them to use it? No, Jonathan
Oh,
shaking his head. No. All right, why not, Jonathan?
not at all. They're better than me. Like these guys are out there. I mean, you've seen the YouTube clips out there where they're like, take this club, take this ball, hit it. And they literally tell you how far it goes within 3 yards with no rangefinder, just feel and everything else. Have a caddy walk around, figure out where you need to hit the ball. These guys, I mean, a rangefinder's like the most cheat sheet you could possibly imagine for these guys. They're so dialed in on distances. I mean, I watched Bryson hit a shot and it came up, and I'm like, as soon as they cut to him, he's going to be looking at his caddy going, I mishit that ball. Not because it was a bad shot. It just was 20 feet away instead of 10 feet away. So he missed it by whatever, like a 3-yard distance that he thought he had. So no, I think that's just a sponsor. Honestly, that's just a sponsor grab in my mind. Like somebody's just trying to figure out how to sell stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if
It
the
is
people would
a
yeah. Curtis,
oh
what do you
yeah,
think?
it's a pace of play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look just on 18 there alone, Xander and his caddy, they got out the rangefinder and he said, all right, it's 248 to cover the bunker. It's this to get to here. It's this to get to there. And I mean, that 18th hole alone was aspirational for pace of play. If the PGA Tour played that fast, it would be inherently more watchable. If people weren't having to walk 20 yards ahead and then come back 20 yards so that they could find the nearest sprinkler head and walk that off, if they could just laser it, now you have a situation in which the camera guy and the microphone, they can stay right there. The caddy and the player can have their conversation all in the exact same spot. They don't have to be walking back and forth. The fact that it's not already on the PGA Tour is worrisome. I mean, not that they're exactly the best decision makers in the world, clearly, but from a pace of play standpoint, it should 100. It's the only thing. It's already there in the book, but you have to go find the sprinkler head. It's not information. Like it's so not cheating that you can tell the other player. You can't tell them what club you hit, but you can say it's 145 yards to there. That's how wide open yardages are in a competitive event. And oh no, it was so awesome to watch him and his caddy on 18 just. All right, there's our numbers. Let's talk about the shot we got to hit now, and then we got to listen to that, and I thought that was great.
So then what does that do to the scores and all the other majors? If you bring those into play, do you think it lowers everything?
Well, I guess, are you saying that without the rangefinders, they're guessing wrong yardages?
There's that human element of someone missing it.
But they're also going off a sprinkler head that might have, an old number, or you can't see it anymore, or I get the human element piece, but
the sprinkler head, like we all know, right? The reason why rangefinders are what they are is because the sprinkler head's giving you a distance to the middle of the green or something like that. It's still not going to get you to the actual pin location. I mean, how many times do you think they went for the pin this week because they knew the exact yardage to everything surrounding the pin versus I've got a book, I've got an idea, we've walked it out this morning, or someone walked it out this morning and figured that out. And I just maybe it could be an experiment.
I'm here for Mark as probably the only person here that caddied today. I can tell you with 100% certainty that it doesn't change any of your strategy at all, because you have the human element. If you've ever ranged the thing that's whatever's behind the pin and taken that as your yardage, that's always fun. But all you're doing when you have the book, you have that book in front of you and you look for you're not even looking for the yardage, because the book tells you that where this line crosses through the sprinkler head, I've got 205 front. So I'm going to go and just find that sprinkler head. Now I'm going to walk from that sprinkler head. I've already had to walk up to it. We'll say it's 10 yards up. Now I've walked up to it. I have to pace it back to the ball. Then I have to go into the book and say, now I'm 210 from the front. Now I have to go to the pin sheet and say, okay, it's plus 17 on. So now I'm doing all the math. I'm writing all my calculations down. I'm doing all of those things. Or I could stand at my ball range the pin, say -10 is the front. Now I know where the front is. Boom, done. Now we can say, all right, what's our shot? I'm going to get to the same number anyway. These guys just don't make mistakes like that. Maybe once a year they'll get a calculation wrong, but you're going to get something wrong with the rangefinder anyway. And if it speeds up play 30 seconds a shot, that's a whole lot of shots and time that we save, more action on TV, and the product gets infinitely better, in my opinion.
I had a finance class in college, and the professor said, yeah, you can use calculators because you can use them in the real world. And then it was up to you to make sure you knew how to use the calculator and do all this stuff. So rangefinders won't help you hit the perfect shot. Joe, Jason, do you guys, y'all pro, not, on the rangefinder deal?
You want me to go, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'm all for it. Exactly what Kirsch says. I mean, pace of play. I mean, these guys are the best players in the world, and it still takes them damn near 5.5 hours to play around. And then when you go to your local courses, guys imitate what they're seeing on TV. And I can't play golf on the weekend at a public golf course. It absolutely drives me nuts playing 6-hour rounds. And if a little electronic device helps speed that up, I am 100% all for it.
The 6 hours on a Saturday aren't because no one has a rangefinder. The carts have the GPS and everything else. We're just all bad at golf.
Right. But what I'm saying is, though, I mean, people see what they mimic what they see on TV. And if they see these guys playing, faster golf and getting up to their ball and playing ready golf, they're going to start doing it too. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Not necessarily like, that it's going to improve their golf. But I feel like if people were ready to play, it would help. And if they see it on TV, I feel like, it would improve the pace of play elsewhere.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with Kirsch 100% on this. I agree that it's all about pace of play. And I think, having a rangefinder might equal out the time that Patrick Cantlay takes on the greens to speed up his round a little bit, So yeah, I am all for it, man. Anything for pace of play, speed up the game. Yeah, I always want to see everything going forward and being a little faster. It's just too damn slow.
What if they said we'll do pace or we'll do rangefinders, but no more aim point, right? Like,
oh,
yep.
It's like you and I were talking yesterday, Robby, about someone I saw this weekend that was aim pointing like a 1-foot putt, and I'm saying, come on, we got to stop this.
Yeah, miss all those anyway. So I'm a pro rangefinder guy. I think for nothing else, the pace of play. Anything you can do to make it quicker, not that you want to rush through golf. They're not going to rush their process, but if it can help shorten it by 2 minutes per shot, or whatever it takes, then I think that's good. And I think they're good enough. They're going to get close enough to the numbers either way. So Jonathan, what you got? One more argument.
Did the pace of play increase this week?
Yes.
Like substantially?
Oh, look at the pace of play this week, outside of Friday when it was raining, when everything just takes longer in the rain. The pace of play today was shorter than it was like 20 minutes shorter for the final group than it was at Augusta.
Is that because of the course, or is that because of the rangefinders?
I don't know. It's a longer course. They had to walk longer.
No, walking.
I mean, they had bridges they had to walk over today, like long bridges, not short bridges.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's an interesting debate. Yeah.
And that was with the final group that fell behind too. Weren't they like a hole and a half behind at one point?
Yeah, they had to speed up.
Yeah,
that doesn't help the argument. They were a hole and a half behind, and they had rangefinders.
Well,
but they still finished
a little bit more with Xander's regripping than anything else.
Yeah, that takes forever. All right, so we threw out some long shots the other day on our preview show. I went back and looked to see how they would do. Kirsch, you picked Jason Day as a long shot. He finished T43. Mark the caddy picked, and so did AJ. Both our caddies picked Jake Knapp, who was cut. So sorry, guys. Maybe that's why you're not here today. Y'all were also cut from the recap show. Jason and Jonathan weren't here. I don't know if y'all would have had a long shot. Joe, I picked Zach Blair. tied 53. And Joe picked Minwoo Lee, T26. So from our long shots, Joe picked the one that finished the highest. So good job there. And then our picks for the event, again, Jonathan and Jason weren't on our preview show. Let's see. Mark picked John Rahm. He thought a live guy was going to come in there and do something. John was cut. Surprisingly, I think we all thought he might play a little better. I guess what's his name? Bryson kind of gave the live guys a little bit of a push. AJ also picked Oberg, who was cut. Man, both guys who are not here picked guys that were cut. Interesting. Kirsch picked Max Homa. He was T35. Joe went with Brooks Koepka T26. I went with Tommy Fleetwood T26. So overall, Joe, I think wins are made up appreciation award for your picks, both the long shot and the other. So, all right, heading into the U.S. Open, anybody got momentum? We're less than a month away. Any player that you think is carrying momentum heading into the U.S. Open and maybe well suited to play Pinehurst number 2? Jason, you got anybody that comes to mind that for this specific course, Pinehurst number 2, who's hot right now? That they might not play the next couple weeks because they're not elevated events, but then you got Memorial, then you have the U.S. Open. Anybody you think of right now that might be an early pick?
I love Rory to death, and I feel like when he's on, like last week, and I know that Quail Hollow really fits his eye off the tee, but I just feel like if he continues down this path, I know he kind of struggled, this weekend, but I just feel like if he keeps having fun on the golf course is basically what I see right now. He just seems like he's having fun again and he's enjoying it. That if he can kind of keep momentum going the way that it's been going, I feel like that he could really do something at Pinehurst.
Yeah. Joe, who do you got? Who's hot right now that you think suited for Pinehurst?
It's such a cop out for me to say Scottie Scheffler. I mean, come on. But I think he's got a real shot to win here. I really do. Maybe JT, maybe. I know. I'm just thinking the course. I'm just thinking the course. I'm not thinking he's playing well, but maybe. But
he's playing better.
Yeah. But in the end, I think Scheffler's going to be the guy here. I really do.
Jonathan, seems like you wanted to go JT.
I was going to say JT. I just looked it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 10s. He's also missed a couple cuts, but you think about like somebody that hopefully or probably wouldn't completely buckle underneath pressure, have an opportunity if he's striking it well. And I mean, it's at this point, it's almost Scheffler versus the field, except for David's curse whenever he talks about how he never wins anytime after May. So that, I mean, like that part right there is probably the biggest topic of conversation whenever it comes around is, can he win in the summer? Like, can he win after, say, not a bad year so far, if you like that win, those types of things. But
he's the Jimmy Walker of this group.
Kirsch, who you got? Who's somebody that's hot right now that you think can carry that to the U.S. Open?
I feel like we're obligated. Somebody out here has to say Brooks Koepka. He did win a charity event over on Live
over in Singapore.
Ago.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel.
There was at least 5 people there. I saw it. I can attest. There were 5 people in the crowd at one point. But when you go to a really tough golf course, and I think when Keimer won, he was at -9, and everybody else was -1, even, +1. There was a big group in there, and I think when it gets tough, I think Koepka's going to be in play. But I mean, it's really a Scheffler, Xander, Rory, JT mix. That's the mix. I mean, Xander's playing unbelievable golf. I think he moved to number 2 in the world today with the win. So, he locked up his Olympic spot, which is something that he really wanted to do as well today. So, as the defending gold medalist. So I think I think Bryson will struggle there, but I do think X and Scheffler will come to play.
Yeah, those would have been my two. I mean, we've talked about, and again, we'll talk about this more, but having to hit it in an exact spot. I mean, sometimes a 3-foot window on a green at Pinehurst, or else you're off. I think Xander and Scheffler are kind of the best right now at doing that. I think others can do it. But then it's how well can you scramble for those when you do miss it. And I think both those guys also, besides the ball striking ability and the ability to miss it well or just play to the right spots, I think they also have the temperament to, all right, when you miss it and it does roll off the green, to recover and save a par. So it'll be fun. Again, we'll chat about this more as we get closer. It's exciting. I mean, it's on U.S. Open. You're on the clock, Joe. Everybody's coming. I do want to give thanks to Joe. Had a great weekend. A lot of fun hanging out, getting to see the U.S. Open as it's being built, but getting to play number 3 yesterday with Joe. Have dinner last night with he and his wife, with my wife as well. It was just a lot of fun. So thanks, Joe, for your hospitality there. Welcome to Pinehurst, and you're about to welcome a whole lot more people and golfers.
Yeah, and anytime, Robby. We really loved having you up here. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Well, we missed having Mark the caddy and AJ here. AJ got to go today, so we were hoping we were gonna hear his perspective. We'll have to maybe we'll do some special episode or something and have him on to recount some tales. But it's been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you all for both the preview and helping to recap this thing. But until next time, Robby and Jonathan, and this has been another Best Ball Roundtable.